Well, hey, there you are. Glad you could join me on such short notice. So, let me tell you what today's project consists of. We are working on a 12.5-ton package unit today. You can see it behind me. The sun is very bright today. So anyway, I was here a while back doing preventative maintenance on this unit, and the issue was it would not fire up in heat mode. So I'm here today to further diagnose that issue and quote repairs. So let me turn this camera around, set it down, and let's get started. As you can see down there is our burner assembly, gas valve, inducer, all our controls, compressors, all that fun stuff. There's our control board right here. What I'm gonna do is just put this into test mode. So first I wanna hit this little shift dip switch on the bottom, unit test dip switch on top. Then I should see a C.01, which we do. Hit that black button once, twice. See H1, H10. We're gonna go H10, I believe, is full heat, so we're gonna go full heat. And then once you get to H10, you hold down this black button until that decimal point appears, and we fire up in heat mode. So both inducers are running. Looks like we got a wasp nest in there. That's exciting. Now I did get a faint whiff of gas once I opened this door. Not real sure what that's all about though. I got spark. I don't know if you can hear that, but we are sparking. I have no ignition. Let's see if we can see our sparker way back there. You might be able to see that. See? Oh, we got ignition right there. Alright, well that's weird. So we got ignition on this first burner after the second attempt of lighting, but it wouldn't go to these other burners. Now normally, when I see this exact same problem, it's usually on package units that are set on the ground. And what I'll find is these orifices are usually plugged up with spider webs. All right, there's our third attempt. All right, let's take this out of test mode real quick. And to do that, I just hold down this black button until our little decimal point right there disappears. And now we're out of test mode. So quickly to recap, this first burner here ignited, and it looked really, really weak. There wasn't a whole lot of flame to it, but there was a faint flame coming out of this first burner. And obviously I need that flame to spread all the way across down here, because right down there is our flame sensor. So since it wasn't doing that, apparently on either side, because neither side lit up, I guess I'm gonna pull the burners off real quick, check the orifices, make sure there's nothing plugged up. I'm gonna start right here, just so I don't waste my time and remove all the burners, check all the orifices, because if it started over here, if this orifice was clear, it should have came out over here and at least spread to this burner. So we'll start there, but I will probably end up just inspecting all of them just to be safe. See if I can get my little mirror up underneath here and check those out. Real quick, guys, before I get into inspecting these orifices, some of you guys that maybe aren't familiar with these sorts of systems or are new to the trade even, you You may think that our pressure switch wasn't closed all the way. That's why we didn't have full ignition, or we might have a gas valve problem or an ignition board problem, maybe a flame sensor problem. But a couple things. For one, if my pressure switch didn't close, I wouldn't get spark. I wouldn't hear a spark whatsoever. My gas valve wouldn't open. I could distinctly hear my gas valve clicking, and I could smell gas coming out of my flue. So I know my gas valve opened because I could smell gas, obviously. And I know my pressure switch closed right there. That's my pressure switch. I know that closed because, again, it was sparking and my gas valve was energized. If that pressure switch, which is basically a safety switch that hooks into my inducer assembly, if that pressure switch isn't closed, then my gas valve won't come on, my sparker won't come on, and it'll just display a fault code on my control board. So anyway, let's get to checking out these orifices right back here. I'm not sure how successful a mirror is going to be on these, especially on that one. Alright, you know what? I can see those. See, right at the top of the mirror, you can see into that orifice. Alright. Now, in my experience, when I have found these plugged up, it's very visible from this angle. But this one right here I couldn't get a good view of, so I'm going to pull this burner off. I'm going to twist that orifice right out just to show you. Alright, I got my burner out of the way. There's my orifice. I already got it loosened up. Let's just pull this guy right out of here. Alright, as you can tell, it's nice and clear. So there should have been no reason for that orifice not to spit out some gas and make a flame for us. Now these burners, just a quick description or explanation of how I understand them to work. I believe these are called Venturi burners. Venturi, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but what happens is the gas will come out of this orifice, and it's designed to come out at such a pressure or such a speed that as it's coming out of this orifice going into this burner right inside of there, it's actually pulling in air, oxygen around it, and as it's doing that, it's combining it into a combustible mixture. And once it reaches the end of the burner where there's already a flame established, of course, then it ignites and goes to the heat exchanger. That's how I understand them to be anyway. So I think I'm going to put this burner back on here, and my next step is going to be to test my incoming and outgoing gas pressure with the unit running. And I'm still getting a faint whiff of gas even though the unit's off right now. So I might check my gas line just to make sure I got no leaks anywhere. Alright, so off camera, I did pull that burner, check that orifice, same thing, it was nice and clear, no issues there. But I was still getting a faint whiff of gas, so I threw some soap bubbles on my valve over here. And right around the top of this gas valve, around the nipple, it's leaking. I'm not sure if it's just leaking from the threads or if maybe it's cracked where the threads are. But I need to address that before I go any further, because it's probably not safe just having gas pour out of there while I'm playing around with sparks and everything else. So let me shut the gas off, see if I can't tighten that valve up, see if that fixes the problem, and yeah, we'll go from there. Alright, first things first, I'll open up this union. pull that out right out by hand. Alright guys, now I'm going to out myself right now and let you know that I have a bad habit of putting just a little too much pipe dope on pipes. That's probably still a little too much, but I'm getting better. It's an addiction, what can I say? Nice and tight. That also seems nice and tight. A little bit more pipe dope out here. As you can tell, the gas line is reassembled. The gas is back on. I'm going to hit this with some bubbles, make sure everything's good. I don't see any leaks, so we are good to go. So the next step in this process is to hook up my manometer to the incoming gas side of the gas valve and just see what our gas pressures are. And then what we'll do is we'll hook up to the outgoing, the burner side of the gas valve, and see what those pressures are once our valve opens and begins the ignition process. All right. All right, I got my manometer hooked up. Gas is on. My gas pressure dropped for some reason. That's weird. Oh, I was mistaken. It didn't actually drop, it shot up. It's on the other side of this little pointer metal thing. So we are off the charts with our gas pressure. That is amazing. I don't know if you can hear that, but it is just dumping out of there. All right, guys. So I didn't catch this on film, so I'm gonna try this again. So I got my gas line is bled off, and my manometer's right there. I'm gonna hook back up to it. Let's turn our gas back on. Gas is on. Okay, good. It happened again. This time I got it on film though. Right now my gas is on and I have zero pressure. I have no pressure whatsoever. Let's pull this off. I have nothing coming out of there. And again, just so we're clear, that's the inlet side of my gas valve. I got nothing coming out of there. So either my ball valve has failed internally somehow, which I don't really believe is the case because the stem turned. I know that doesn't mean that this is fully open, but I kind of feel like my regulator is bad. That's what my gut's telling me anyway. But that regulator, I don't see a port to test that. I also don't know what the incoming gas pressure should be on this. Let's kick it a little bit. Sometimes when you kick stuff, it works. That did not work. But then again, if this ball valve had failed, let's think about this. If this ball valve had failed a few minutes ago, and say our regulator still worked, and that last clip where we seen I had, I don't know, 15, 20, whatever water column inches where it just went right off the scale, then this failed ball valve wouldn't cause that. A failed regulator would cause that, because then I'm just getting straight gas pressure. Whatever gas pressure this building is set up for would go straight through my failed regulator and into my gas valve. Yeah, it feels like that is opening and closing. Let's see if that did anything at all. No, I still don't have any gas pressure. Okay, well, you know what I'm going to do? Because the other complaint was that that unit right there wasn't heating properly. And I think that unit was the other one that they were complaining about. So I'm going to go hook my manometer up to those units and see what kind of gas pressure we have over there. Here we are at RTU number 4, which is the neighbor to the one we were just looking at. Gas is off. I'm going to pull out this little Allen screw here so we can hook up our manometer, and we'll see what the incoming gas is to this side as well. I don't smell any gas. Even though I have the gas off, there should have been a little bit of gas in the line. All right. That's on. Let's hook up our manometer. Let's turn this guy on here. All right, so let's get a close-up of that. So this one's doing what the other one was doing before we had zero gas pressure. You can tell my needle spun all the way around, and we are on the back side of this little metal pointer that indicates zero. So we're up above 10 inches of water column on this. So what I'm going to do, just like I did last time, I'm going to bleed this gas off, see if I can let the pressure out. All right. That's a lot of pressure. All right, so I'm going to put this one into heat mode real quick and see what happens. So what I'm looking for is, as soon as that gas valve opens, my gas pressure should drop down to a normal range right here, 2.5 to 4. dropped all the way down to 0, fluctuating a little bit. We had ignition, and then she stopped. So it looks like we got a couple units on this roof that are doing funky things. Now, I either coincidentally have 2 bad regulators, or this building has gas pressure issues. I don't know if you can see that in the background, but I had one burner that looked like it lit up, and then my gas pressure hit 0, and then it spun all the way back around. So what I'm thinking is that, like right now, I just have a buildup of gas pressure. When my gas valve opens, that buildup obviously exits the gas valve, and then I go down to 0 because I don't have enough pressure behind it to sustain a flame, just like that. And then it sort of bounces around once my gas valve opens, right there, bounce. Might get a little, I got 1, 2, all my burners just lit up. Now our gas pressure is within normal range. However, it looks like it's just going to keep on climbing. Alright, well, let's shut that down. Well, I have never seen this problem before. I've seen low gas pressure and slightly higher than normal gas pressure due to a bad regulator, but never seen this specific issue. And I know this strip mall is getting, half of this strip mall is getting renovated for some new businesses coming in. So I wonder if maybe that has something to do with the change in gas pressure to the building. I'm not real sure. All right, guys, I'm just wrapping up here. I did speak to the facility manager of this account and explain the issues. And he's going to have the gas supplier come in, double check pressure at the meter, and then see if they can check and or replace these regulators on the outside of these rooftop units. I'm not exactly sure if it is the regulators or if there's a building pressure issue. As I showed you, R2 number 4, the neighboring unit to this unit, did have very similar issues. That one did eventually fire up, but you've seen my fluctuating gas pressure. It would try to ignite, wouldn't ignite. It would, gas pressure would go past 10, it would drop down to 0. And I don't usually believe in coincidence, so I have a hard time believing that there's 2 failed regulators on a roof. I'm sure it's not unheard of, but I've only had maybe 1 or 2 regulators that I know were bad, I guess. I did go around to a couple of the other units. All the other units are smaller than these 2, and the other units fired up without issue, one by one. So part of me thinks that if there is a problem with gas pressure going to the building, coming up to the roof and everything, that since I only checked them one by one or one at a time, or maybe even because the other units are much smaller than these units, these are 12.5 ton. I forget how many BTUs of heat they are, but we got 12 burners on each one of these units. So maybe the other units, since they're much smaller and require less gas, I suppose, to initially fire up, they have less burners, less orifices to feed. Maybe that's the reason those fired up. I'm not 100% sure. But it doesn't look like we're getting any sort of instant gratification today, guys. But that does it for this one, guys. We'll see you on the next one, all right? Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and leave me some comments. Let me know if you've seen this issue before. Maybe you have some insight. If you're a plumber or a gas worker, let me know, because I'm curious to learn. I'm curious to know what would have caused this sort of issue. All right, so we'll see you on the next one.